every year the Oilers, at least for the last couple and beyond, they're always trying to find that legit third line center. And I guess the guys they have signed, Kyle Turris last year, Kyle Brodziak 2 years ago, in theory, they're third line centers as long as they produce, but they haven't gotten the production. Brodziak gets injured. Turris just didn't pan out. And he still has a year left on his contract. What's the secret to finding the right third line center in free agency?
The secret is realizing, I think, the difference between a fourth line center and a third line center. I think there's a major difference. I think a fourth line center can play minutes but doesn't give you much offense. He can play and he can kill penalties, but a third line center also has to be able to, I think a third line center in today's NHL has to be able to get you 35 points. And if you can't, then you're a fourth line center. They thought Turris could do that, Kyle Turris could do that, and it turned out, he played 27 games, he had 5 points, and didn't play in the playoffs, which is obviously a tell how the coaching staff thought of him. They didn't play him a minute in the playoffs, the biggest games of the year. And, in his case, I think he tried hard, but I think they eventually saw him as a winger, not a center, and the pace of the game in a lot of nights looked too fast for him. Now they have another year in his contract, $2 million salary, so I don't know what they're going to do with him. But they have to find a third line center who has some offensive chops and maybe was a second line center, but could play third line center now.
I think about Nugent Hopkins. Clearly he's playing top two lines, but wouldn't he be a third line center if you absolutely had to put him there?
Yes, but do you want a third line center making $5.5 million? No, I don't think so.
How much does Pajot make for the Islanders? I guess I should look that up before we started talking.
Yes, but they don't have a $12.5 million center and an $8.5 million center. Their salary structure is a little different than the Edmonton Oilers. So I think they would spend $3 million on a third line center. We can run down the whole list. Ryan Getzlaf, I guess, would probably be the most ideal guy who could be your third line center. He shoots righty and he was a first line center and he'd give you some offense, okay? I don't see him wanting to leave Anaheim. Then there's centers like Derek Ryan and Riley Nash and Brandon Sutter. But I think at this stage of the game, they look more like fourth line centers. Derek Stepan maybe could be a third line center, but he's coming off shoulder surgery. I think the ideal third line center might be Tyler Bozak, who played in St. Louis. He had a good year in St. Louis. He's got some offense to his game still, but he's 35 years old. Maybe they could do that. I think they're keeping the seat warm for Ryan McLeod. I think it's pretty obvious. They're keeping the seat warm for Ryan McLeod, thinking he could be a third line center. But he's not a third line center right now. He's a fourth line center, and he shoots left. They need a right shot center, certainly on faceoffs. You can't just have all lefties. McDavid's left, Draisaitl's left, Nugent Hopkins is left, Kara's left, Ryan McLeod's left, Devon Shore, as a bottom six guy shoots left. They can't all be left. You need some right shot centers for faceoffs. You need at least one. And they had Gaetan Haas, and he's gone back to Europe, to Switzerland, and they tried Turris and it didn't pan out.
I was trying to remember if Antoine Vermette was a right shot.
Left shot.
He certainly won faceoffs.
Left shot.
Okay, well, he's out if he came out of retirement.
Yeah, he's out. And Kyle Brodziak's got a bad back, so I don't think he's coming out of retirement either. So trying to find one is difficult, and I think in their heart of hearts, even right now, if they could somehow get Philippe Deneau out of Montreal, even a left shot guy, they would take him because he's so good defensively. You can match him against the other team's best players and let McDavid and Draisaitl do their thing. They would take him even if he's a left shot guy. But I think he's going to be too expensive. Now, I threw out a name today. If the Oilers wanted to trade Nolan Patrick in Philadelphia, he shoots right. That would be a trade. He's only 22. Second pick in the draft in 2017. Hasn't panned out, obviously. Had migraine issues, missed a whole year. To me, he's Jesse Puljujarvi. In the terms of the draft, you said, well, how come this guy isn't better? Well, same thing with Nolan Patrick. But maybe Nolan Patrick is just a third line center, but with some offensive ability. But that would be a trade. So, and then that's not a given. Let's put it this way. And I think the Oilers right now need more givens on their roster. they want to break some younger guys in, but they need more givens in terms of trading or signing free agents.